Welcome to Real Flix Reviews. We're like a book club for people who hate reading. This month's theme was movies that should be 5 out of 5, so James picked the movie Braveheart, and he brings you movie news at the end of the program. This week we have Jonathan Charney, James Stevens, Ryan Preston.
The old guy's here.
He's back.
Hey, I wanted to say how good Ryan looks. We got him up and running now. He's high tech.
Where's video connection at least? So who has the description of this movie?
I got it, if you guys don't want
Okay,
it.
go ahead.
Okay, here we go. When his secret bride is executed for assaulting an English soldier who tried to rape her, a commoner begins a revolt and leads Scottish warriors against the cruel English tyrant who rules Scotland with an iron fist.
You want to hear
Technically, that's not correct.
No, it's not. Also, they have the character wrong, too, because the guy that plays Bruce...
his nickname was Braveheart.
Yeah. They got it wrong.
Yeah. Anyways,
one of the
Who
funniest,
knew?
one of the funniest things is one of the major historians' irritation was William Wallace was actually a minor noble, and he actually owned his property.
yeah. Well, there's not
So he's
very
not a
much
commoner.
that's historically accurate about this movie at all. Truthfully, he wouldn't even have known the French Queen. She was like an infant when he was around.
Oh yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
The only thing they actually technically got right at the end of the movie was when they talked about how her husband died. That was technically
Right.
correct.
Yeah.
But
They had to get something right.
I know, but that's not the point of why I like this movie.
Yeah, the pivotal battles, the places they took place and whatnot, and the numbers and everything, that was pretty close.
I gotta say though, this happens to be one of the most quotable movies ever. Like probably one of the favorite line is on the first major like army versus army battle, and William Wallace went up to the British guy. He said, before he went up to, he said, "What are you doing?" "I'm going to pick a fight."
Yeah.
And the other guy was
That was a good quote.
And
I love
Bad accent. Good quote.
well, I only do bad accents. The other one was
That's why I don't do them.
was the Irish. Was it Irish? The character they don't explain.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
says
Stephen?
that
Yeah.
It tells. See, they
It's
said
my island.
his comment. So he said, "The Lord tells me he can get me out of this mess, but he tells me you're fucked." Or
But I'm pretty sure you're fucked.
yeah, close enough.
No, it wasn't. That was not close enough. That's not what he said.
I was a word away, so shut up.
Do you have these written down, or are they just off the top of your head?
A little bit of both.
You know he's got the script in front of him like usual.
A script. I don't read from a script. I go from the top of my head, which
Script.
explains a few things.
But truthfully, for me, this is what I like to think is a fun movie, because there's funny parts, there's action parts, like brutal action parts. One of my favorite things is the Battle of Stirling. One of the first major battles they have is you hear all these, and then you're, and dude's getting his dagger shoved through his eyeball.
I have to say though, the extended edition of Return of the King seems shorter than this movie, and that movie's 4 hours long.
Yeah,
The pacing on this movie is interesting because it goes from very slow to fast-paced, slow, fast-paced, slow.
Well, the first hour of the movie is them pretty much setting
they had
up
to
why
set up,
he's
right.
going to go
yeah.
on his vengeance spree.
But I do love seeing a grown man riding a horse with a claymore. That by itself is the most interesting thing.
That horse is going, ow, 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 ow.
Asshole, asshole, asshole. It totally.
Yeah, not exactly a road, is it?
No, totally. I love. That's one of the greatest part of this movies, I think, is the fact that.
we just killed your video.
Yeah, we're having some minor issues here.
Internet's slowing down.
So, like, what do you think the major theme of this movie actually, like, the constant, how the British were bad. The British were bad. All they want is freedom.
They've always been.
Well,
bad.
the thing that they actually point out in the beginning of the movie is who wrote the histories.
Mm-hmm. Oh, the winner.
And the winner.
Oh,
and
of
who was the
course.
winner at most of the time
Brits.
in history? It was the British. So
Right.
that's pretty much what they're setting the movie up for, and basically taking all the legends of William Wallace and compiling them into one little movie that is fun for people to watch.
And see, that's the important thing to really remember about watching this movie is it's not supposed to be this date by event historical depiction of exactly what happened. It's really the legend of William Wallace, and part of it is I think most of it's theory, but I mean they really theorized that they did kill his wife, and that's why he sort of went apeshit.
Yeah.
or might have been, the impetus for him, sort of leading a rebellion.
Can't blame him.
But it is just a legend of all of it. So take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
I do find it interesting though that what was his cousin, his dad's brother named Angus or whatever that rescued him when he was a kid?
Oh, Argyle.
Oh, yeah.
Argyle, that's it.
Argyle.
The interesting is Argyle seems like he never learned what Argyle's lesson was to do battle with your mind before your head, because he still never realized that he needed all the people he was trying to kill. He needed the nobility.
Well, no, he actually states that right when he returns back is that you can't always win a battle with this, and
It was too late
But-
though.
that he understood that, but he got lost in the love, and that's really what they come back to is the passion, and that's why when the French maid tells the queen what was going on. But the thing is what I really appreciate about this movie is Mel Gibson he went old school with his camera tricks, and they actually for what
That was old
2014,
school.
95.
That's old
No,
school.
we even went back. He was still steering away from the CGI and some of the things that they were trying to portray at that time. He went back to slowing down the camera and speeding it up later. He talks about that. And then
The horse trick.
The horse trick, yes. The horse trick. He actually got a lot of hate mail from a lot of the animal rights groups for the way that he did the horse tricks, because they could not believe that he did that without injuring a horse.
Yeah,
Right.
And he actually had to go back and prove how he did it. He had to show all his tricks to these people to get him off his back. He talks about this in
He had to show some of their dailies during the
yeah.
scene.
I
of the
watched
fact that
one of the times I watched the film, I actually stuck on the director commentary, and Mel Gibson. This is the one movie that I've actually watched the entire thing with the director commentary, because he gets into a lot of the things that he did in the movie. The little boy who played him, he basically found him in a pub.
Nice.
That out there, he didn't know who was going to play him at play the young him at the time, and ran into this little boy. And the scene when he's waking up, the morning that his dad shows up, and he wakes up and he's all rubbing his face. He just told the kid, just act like you woke up, and the kid took from there and ran with it. And it was just amazing the way that this kid, who's not trained,
Not a professional.
Yeah.
and a lot of the people that he had were non-professionals.
Right.
He actually had, I believe it was the Scottish Army, the reserves coming out, and that's who played the troops.
But the funniest thing is it's something he did in Apocalypto too, where he got native people to
Yeah.
play characters that were, which is one of the reasons why I liked.
That's not uncommon though.
Well, no, it's not.
Many
That's- He pretty much stole that from the spaghetti guys.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, but
Spaghetti westerns.
In the Apocalypto, even the main character was from there. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which is one of the reasons I thought Mel Gibson's directing style is always.
But this is one of
Is
those
unique.
films that they took basically some historical facts, jumbled them all together, and Hollywooded the crap out of it.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, right.
But I still think
This is not a documentary. It's a
based
movie.
on a true story.
it's based on real people. Let's just put it that way. It's
Likely,
based on real
yeah.
people.
It's based on a true
not
story.
necessarily exactly what happened in their life.
Right.
Oh
But,
yeah.
but this movie also, I unfortunately inspired a crap ton of people to go out and buy claymores, to start screaming freedom for the next 10 years.
And a bad Scottish/Irish accent. I do have to say that one of the scenes in here, the movie that I actually thought was probably the most telling was the foreshadowing scene, the burial at night of his father, when they were playing. When he said, "What are they doing?" They're playing illegal tune on illegal pipes.
Actually, those are Irish pipes. Those are not Scottish pipes.
Thank
Just
you.
to let you know, because Scottish pipes actually sound like you're skinning and raping a cat at the same time.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Just
getting
to
your
say
hate
that.
mail
Somebody
to
better
James
fact
Stevens.
check that one. I don't know.
That's actually what Mel Gibson says
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
the,
They
in the
don't- they
They
director's
did, huh?
commentary.
I don't know if I.
And that's
Well,
a very rough quote of what he said
Uh-huh.
about Scottish pipes.
Yeah.
They aren't.
Right.
They aren't. I did read that they aren't the right pipes, but I love that scene because you could see the whole scene kind of basically
Help.
his life kind of being foreshadowed there. How there's always going to be people fighting oppression in their ways because what they were doing there was illegal, was highly illegal according
Yes.
to the movie.
Right. Well, the scene where he was coming into that square where they were going to behead him and everything, and people were throwing vegetables and stuff. They were throwing tomatoes at him, which hadn't been introduced to England or Scotland
Oh, yeah,
for,
yeah.
for another 100 years.
And he actually said that some of those weren't as rotten as they should have been. And they actually hurt.
Hurt?
I know.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I got to say on that one though, damn, do British take their punishments far? Considering he was spread to the four corners of that little
Well,
island.
that was more for what he meant to the people. It was supposed to be such a demoralizing thing
Right.
to the Scottish. You know what I mean? And it ended up being this big, rally cry for him at the end.
Apparently, they never met any Scottish or Irish people I've met. It was kind of a foreshore thing to piss them off.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think about the slow parts of this movie? Because this movie's 2 hours and 45 minutes, and I have to admit, some of it did feel like it lasted an hour when it was only 30 minutes in.
I had an interesting observation for me. Seeing this movie in the theater when it came out, Wayback Machine. I thought it was great. I mean, I thought, wow, that was great. There were some great fighting scenes, and one of the things I think about the movie and looking at it now on a small screen is it doesn't hold up to small screen. I think it was much better in the theater. I think it looked better. It sounded better. You were more involved with it. Watching it on a small screen, I think we lost something. I don't think the translation was as good.
I'll agree with that.
Yeah,
it's an epic. It's kind of, it's definitely, no, I'll agree with that. It's kind of like watching the Ten Commandment movie. It's better when it's bigger than life.
But at least on the small screen, you can stop it or pause it and go and take a piss and come back, and you can just press play.
True.
Well, the benefit this, if you do it during the slow scenes, you're not really missing much.
Yeah, and then there was that.
Oh, I know you would.
I mean, look, I don't think there's any moment in this film that's wasted. Honestly, don't. I think it's like all of the moments play from one thing to the next to have its purpose in telling the story. I didn't find myself.
So yeah,
really
but I don't agree with that.
That's what I'm curious about. You guys keep on saying slow scene. What slow scenes stick out to you? Since honestly, you keep on saying slow scenes, there need to be more than one.
I think the first hour and a half to me was kind of slow, except it really did, because the first 30 minutes at least to me just seemed to drag on. Maybe it was just the day I didn't watch it, but Ryan's right. There were no really scenes that were wasted
well, I'm not
throwaway
saying
scenes, but I thought
scenes
it was
that were
slow.
wasted, but I do think there was, and that happens in every movie. In the setup in particular, you might have slower scenes.
Not necessarily slow.
Right. I mean, here's a movie that we want to see people being killed and bludgeoned and stabbed and funny sounds coming out of them and stuff. And, so you're always going to have a little...
I like the mall.
Yeah.
And you can tell that he got splashed by some type of fake head.
I do have to say, though, maybe, we're all kind of, at least for me, victim of, today's modern movies, which are all fast-paced. A lot of the older movies have a very slow build-up, have scenes that are really fast and more slow build-up, because this movie is definitely a slow burn of a movie on some parts.
I gotta go with Ryan on this one. I don't feel that there's slow scenes that are wasted. The only scene that ever I kind of like zone out on is when he goes for a ride with his little bride, and he's out there and I love you, I always have. A whole scene that basketball made fun of is that's the only scene that I'm just like, okay, I understand that he's trying to romanticize her and all that stuff, but
I actually think
I don't think the first time I saw it that I didn't think that was something that was wasting the movie or a slow scene that I had no interest in.
Well, that scene, even though I thought it was slow, was basically very important to the movie because that showed how much he loved her.
Exactly.
Well, not to mention, I mean, it goes through, how much he's learned and how much he's traveled, and there was a lot of little exposition things of sort of the Jesus years, if you will.
He speaks to her in Latin and French and.
Oh yeah. I just thought parts of it were slow. I mean, it's still a good movie, but there were parts to me that just seemed to drag on forever. And like I said, it could have been the day I watched it, though. Too.
Well, go watch Transformers.
This was before Michael Bay got his hands on every action movie. It didn't. Movies weren't that fast paced. I mean, it was obviously a product of its time, but
I don't have that many explosions.
So then the question is, here we're arguing. We talked about the facts. There's some facts that aren't correct. That this is not a documentary. That it's really a movie for fun. So you got both sides of the fence on this movie as to, how do you want to take it. I don't want to criticize it necessarily for factual basis because it's a movie. This is not a documentary that you sit there and you go in your college class and the professor says, "Show me everything that's wrong with this movie." Okay, it's not that. But I was watching Gibson's acting himself, even in himself, and at the time, like I said, on the big screen, everything seemed fluid. You were really involved with it. It is so different in small screen because I have not watched this on DVD or Blu-ray before. It's the first time I did that, and I said it before, and I guess I'm repeating myself, but I still don't think that the movie holds up for small screen. That's my only downside. Otherwise, I think, of course, it's a great movie for its time. I mean, it was pretty awesome.
The one thing that I did notice is this isn't a larger-than-life character. Well, like a lot of the characters Mel Gibson plays, or even Hollywood movies, are very larger-than-life. This is a movie where you kind of get to see the guy's faults, and he's kind of open a bit about it. How he loved his wife, and he kind of started killing the British because of it. And he realizes later on that the way he went about it wasn't the right way, even though Robert the Bruce kept telling him, you need to slow down there a little bit. You're going to really screw up. And it hurt him at the end. And that's one of the reasons I have to admit I like the movie is you get to see kind of the ego in the character.
Okay.
What do you think, Ryan?
No, I agree, especially in the beginning, about half an hour into it when his wife gets killed, and obviously that's not a spoiler, one, because it's freaking 20 years old, and two, it says it in the description.
Exactly.
So blame IMDb, not Real Flix Reviews.
Yeah. After that happens, I completely forgot the question.
Well, do you think this character portrayal of him was larger than life, or more of definitely a character who shows all range of emotions, not just one?
Well, definitely. Okay, that's what I was going to say. In the beginning, he sort of goes off all passion, all fire and brimstone and everything, and he's just seeing red,
like slicing the dude's throat. The beginning.
And then he basically, I don't know, it's something in the middle of it, turns to what it really means when he starts people together, and he realizes, I'm not the only one who's lost people or had these terrible things happen. All these other people are kind of on my side too, and it became more than just himself. You know what I mean? I think that's where sort of the legend of him, starts to play a big factor. I mean, they say in the movie, like, oh, have you heard about William Wallace? He's supposed to be 9 feet tall, and he says, oh, I'm supposed to shoot fire from my ass or whatever.
Right.
And it was much more of a human character than you'd almost expect.
Right.
Yeah.
But it just showed how good of a leader he was.
Yeah.
That's the point.
At the end of the movie, when he knows that they're going to capture him. I mean, he's going at the end, right? And he knows there is.
He knows it's a trap.
It's a trap. It's going to be a trap. Sure, different personality than me. I would not be walking into a trap.
Well, I think
I
at this point
understand
in
it's
his
supposed to be
life,
a point to be made, but
I think at this point in his life, he had figured out that he wasn't having the nobles backing him, so the war was lost. The only option left for him now was to continue the legend of himself and become a martyr.
Exactly.
I also think at this point in his life, in the movie, he was just tired of fighting because he's been doing it. Because on this, he's been doing it the whole time. It's like, I'm going to try it a different way. Because in that conversation when his friend said it's a trap, he's like, sometimes you just got to try.
Yeah.
So I think it was just more like, I think it's more like kind of, I'm just like, I'm done. I've done this for too long. Let's see what happens. But I also think that James is right, too. It's like, worse comes to worse is people are fighting for me.
Yeah.
What do you think, Rob?
I don't agree. Knowing people and human nature, I think a lot of this is a legend, and it's like a lot of other things of heroes or people that have died in a battle. During a battle, then I can understand it. Then that guy becomes a super. I mean, he was, he led us into the war. He killed 50 men, and he ate beating hearts.
He parted through them like Moses to the Red Sea.
And that part I understand. But to actually walk into a trap, somehow I just don't see it.
But sorry, I do have a question because he got that cloth thing, and the guy said it's from Robert the Bruce. Do you think he was thinking it was from the young Robert the Bruce, and there was a chance, there was a small chance that it could have been the right one? Do you think that was the hope he was betting on?
Why did I think the cloth came from his wife?
It did, but
Yeah,
Robert
it was-
the Bruce took it.
Oh.
From the Battle of Falkirk.
Yeah. So, because that was my thought, was like, okay,
True.
Robert the Bruce, maybe there's a small chance that it's the right guy, and he's going to do the stand-up thing, which is support me. Because he
Whatever.
gave his word too.
I understand, but I just kind of know human
He could have been
nature.
naive and
I-
believed in the word of
Maybe.
their man.
Maybe that's the word. Maybe you're right. Maybe he was naive.
Because he did say that he did tell the young Robert the Bruce that, I'll fight for you.
Yeah.
Well, I agree. I
Okay.
wouldn't have done it, but hey.
So,
Anyways,
moving on.
Awkward silence on Real Flix reviews.
honestly, I see what you're saying, that it doesn't. It's better on the big screen. I understand that. Personally, for me, I don't think his acting was that bad. I actually enjoyed his acting. This was a lot different than his other characters.
Oh, yeah. Especially Mark
that he
Riggs.
had done previously. I think it was a step in the right direction for him. Although the Patriot, I don't think stood up to this after he did it. After he did Braveheart. Although I still think Patriot was a
I
good
like
movie.
Patriot, yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
But I don't think that it was as good of a role that he played in this one as the one he played in Patriot.
The most interesting one is he didn't want to do this role.
Yeah. I think he did a fantastic job in it. And I think that this movie is one that if I find out that somebody for some strange reason hasn't seen it, it's one I sit down and,
I do,
have them watch.
I do
Oh, you haven't
think,
seen it, so you got 3 hours to kill?
yeah. I'll
do-
make you some dinner.
I do think one of the reasons he stands out role for him is because he's a very passionate character. If you've ever watch interviews with him or listen to what he does,
You
and
mean
I think
the crazy Mel Gibson or the normal?
Well, Mel Gibson
which
in general,
Which one do you want?
Well,
It depends on if he's been drinking that day.
Yeah.
But I do think a lot of the stuff he does is passionate, and I think this was a movie or a role he really liked. So I would not be surprised if the passion for it came through in his acting, and I don't think the passion was there in The Patriot. It almost
No.
seemed like he found home on parts of it.
Okay. Well, I mean,
Yeah, when Gibson does, when he has the directing job as well, you can see
Yeah.
the passion come through in the filmmaking. Of just a lot of the moments that he chooses to sit on and the way he tells the story. I don't know. It's something that he knows how to do really well.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's a very good director.
yeah. At this point, I think we're just picking on little things. I mean,
That's truly what it comes down to.
That's what it is.
If that's
It's
what you're
just
left
little
with.
Stuff. Right.
I mean, I could throw the scene. The only scene that in this movie that has ever bothered me is the one where he rides in on the guy's bed and smashes him with the maul, and you can tell that the head changes
Oh yeah.
in that split second. And then when he rides out and jumps off, you can tell that in that one scene that the horse was switched because the horse goes stiff right before it hits the water.
And I will say that
That's it. That's the
Gib-
only thing in the entire movie that has ever bothered me is that scene.
I will say though that well, the Patriot was directed by a Robert Emmerich
Oh.
versus the Mel Gibson. So I mean, you can kind of compare the movie. And I was questioning, so what do you give this movie?
I give it a
James?
5 still.
You gave it a 5?
Yeah.
Ryan?
Oh, it's one of my favorite movies of all time, dude. I've seen this movie probably 200 times, of course.
Yeah.
200. Holy crap. Rob?
He's exaggerating,
I-
but close.
I'm going to give it a 4. It's not
Wow.
a 5 movie for me. Yeah.
I'll I kind of go to the same 4 to 5. I like the movie. Maybe I'll rewatch it again and then change my opinion. But right now,
Yeah, like you have time to watch it again.
Well, hey, we can always do flashback episodes or re-review movies we've done in the past. I'm totally up for
Yeah, I was
giving it
gonna
a
say
4,
that's a
but
no.
I'm giving it a 4 to 5.
Okay.
I don't disagree.
Well, there you go.
So, ladies and gentlemen, just to remind you that we do have a Facebook page. There's a movie you like or you want us to redo, or you just tell us we suck, like the Wing Commander Forum. So please let us know. Also, don't forget to hit the donate button on the Old Guy Tech website and donate a couple of bucks. Come on, buy us some movie passes. And James,
That's a good way of putting it.
do you
So,
have any movie news? Do
yeah,
you?
I have something there's a movie that actually came out and was limited released back in Canada last month, and it's called Wolf Cop.
Wolf Cop?
Yes, you heard me correctly. Wolf Cop. And you guys can look it up on IMDb.
Does he bark at the moon?
He howls and barks. But the reason why I'm bringing this up is because this is basically the low-budget 80s action horror films that were released back, obviously, in the 80s, duh. But, you know, I mean, I enjoyed, like, the Critters and Gremlins and the really crappy 80s action horror flicks that were funny.
Was Tremors in the 80s?
Yeah, I think
Early
the first one
90s.
was released in the 80s or early 90s. It was close to the 90s. I have to pull it up.
Right around that time.
But I have the other thing anyway.
By the way, I love the cast from this movie. Holy crap, that got random.
But I mean, right, if you can't pull it up, just pull up Wolf Cop real quick and pull it up. But it was
Cop?
Wolf Cop.
All one word.
All one word.
WOLFCOP.
And it's
Like Teen Wolf, but Wolf Cop.
Cop.
Here's the description. As a series of strange and violent events start happening, an alcoholic policeman, stereotype 1, realizes that he has been turned into a werewolf as part of a larger plan, so he investigates with the help of his partner and his friend.
Oh,
I mean,
shit,
I
totally
want to...
watched this after we stopped.
See? That's what I'm saying. I mean,
movie looks hilarious.
I watched the trailer today, and I was just laughing my butt off. I mean, I want to see this movie so bad.
I should have
But, I
watched
mean, that's
this instead of
totally-
Life Frankenstein.
This really comes down to the fact that this movie, I mean, if I really put it on this show, and I was actually going to give it a legitimate rating just based off the trailer I saw, it'd be a 1 or 2.
Oh,
Literally.
yeah. I mean, that's but it's like a total grindhouse kind of.
funny.
Exactly.
Funny, though.
That's...
Yeah.
I mean, if they broke out with this genre coming back in 2014, 2015, would you guys just jump on the bandwagon? I mean,
think
seriously.
when people do stuff
I
like
expect
that,
it to
they're
come
doing
back,
it
though.
out of sheer passion
Yeah.
for love of those movies.
Yeah.
But it does have a 7.0 rating on IMDb.
Oh.
So.
I know, I did see that. I
7.0.
did notice
But
that.
of course, on the other hand, they give Driven like a 7 rating. So, you gotta kind of balance it
But
out.
you know that this movie is so young that this is just fans rating it. Because, I mean, they're...
Snakes on a plane.
Yeah. I mean, these are people that are total fans
Sharknado.
that are jumping on this.
I want to see Sharknado just to laugh.
Oh man, I only watched a few minutes of it. I had to move on for the moment.
No,
but
I'm gonna
it's
sit
still
down
in
with
my thing.
sit down with a bucket of popcorn, feet up, maybe a beer in one hand. You know, great
Yeah,
laugh.
But I mean-
that's how you watch that movie.
Did you look at the tagline on it though? Here comes the fuzz.
No, I didn't.
Oh, that's bad.
Okay, this is
tagline
definitely
on
like
the-
an
Oh,
80s style
jeez.
movie. Oh wow.
Heck, that's more like the 60s.
But I mean, if this guy, I mean, I looked
well,
at
the fuzz part.
I looked at the director's.
And they spelt it F-U-Z-Z.
Yeah, I looked at the director Lowell Dean, and he really doesn't have anything that I mean I really want to
there you
check
go.
out.
That answers that one.
But I mean, I want to look up Juice Pigs, which was a 42-minute thing that he released in 2010, and 13 Eerie, which came out last year.
What about
Was
Blood,
he-
Lies, and Alibis?
Sounds to me like he's a film student and he was just cranking stuff out for his courses.
Yeah,
That's what it sounds like.
but I mean,
Or he's a big fan of Trauma.
well, if you listen to this is the 13 Eerie description is 6 forensic undergrads embark on a scientific expedition to a
Students.
remote island that was once used as illegal biological testing grounds for life-term prisoners.
Yeah.
Pretty much sounds like a trauma
Totally.
thing.
Matter
So
of fact, they might have made a movie similar to that.
they probably did. But, you know, this is the type of thing that is the fun movies that, you know, they don't really release box office anymore.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
This is all underground, limited release. Like I said, it came out straight
to
on
Blu-ray or
Canada.
whatever.
So it's one of those that it's going to be hard to find in the States unless you find it straight to DVD.
Yeah.
But it's nice to know that there's still an underground movie scene, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There's, I'm really, that's a good thing. There's still indies, still
Well-
underground. Too bad there's not a whole lot of theaters now that show those type of movies.
I know,
There's
it's
one near
those-
us, but it's
the nice
a
thing is
while
you don't
from
need a
us.
theater to see these kind of movies
Yeah.
now. And, you know, there's film schools all over this country with all kinds of guys cranking out stuff that,
Well,
you know,
that,
we,
that
you
is
know,
the benefit of doing one of the sole reasons why we here at Real Flix Reviews are really big fan of doing short films is because a lot of these people, as we said before, are upcoming film students or
Right.
just people bored trying to make it in an industry. And you know, the benefit of
Yeah.
the internet is we now have the ability, like ever before, to see movies that we would have never had access to.
Right.
Yeah, I think we need to actually come up with like an actual theme where we do something like Sharknado, Wolf Cop, 13 Eerie.
Yeah.
I mean, where we bring back, because I mean, we did
If
Dead
you do
Snow.
that, I got
did
the perfect old 50s movie to
Incendies.
pick.
Incendies wouldn't be one that we throw on there, but you know, it's I would not
just
have
wanna give you a hard
lumped
time
Incendies
with
and
that.
Dead Snow, but you know, I mean, we did Dead Snow. We did.
That's a hell of a comparison.
What was the
Oh, jeez.
what was the one with the Nazis in space?
Oh,
We did,
Oh, yeah.
Iron Skies.
Sky.
Yeah. You know, where we do a theme dedicated to that. I think we should consider doing something
I
like
was going
that.
to say, you want to remind our audience about the next episode we're watching?
Yes, the next episode, I don't have it off the top of my head, but it's episode 2 of Band of Brothers. We watched Kurahi last week, and the IMDb no longer pulls up episodes on my phone.
Okay, but it is
so-
episode 2.
It's episode 2.
Right.
And the next pick for our theme is The Man in the Box. So, Ryan, what movie are you going to grace us with this month?
Well, let me start by saying there were some movies that were done. X-Men 2, Superman Returns, Valkyrie, Jack the Giant Slayer, X-Men Days of Future Past, and the upcoming X-Men Apocalypse. What these movies have in common is the director Bryan Singer. Before
Nice.
all of these was one of my all-time favorite movies. Watch this movie any bloody time it comes on, flip into it halfway on cable, I'm sitting down for the rest of it. Usual Suspects, same year as Braveheart, 1995.
Usual Suspects. Cool.
Kevin Spacey, Gabriel Byrne, Stephen Baldwin,
Yeah.
just a who's who of 90s cast.
It was.
Yeah.
Because most of them don't have careers.
Yeah,
Minus
the
Kevin
better
Spacey.
stories. It just will
Yeah, Kevin
kind
Spacey's.
of slow in some points, but there's never a dull moment, you know.
Awesome. So, ladies and gentlemen, I gave the movie The Braveheart a 4 out of 5. James gave it a 5 out of 5. Ryan gave it a 5 out of 5. Rob gave it a 4 out of 5. And it even had subtitles. And
So-
next week is, don't forget also for next week, watch Band of Brother episode 2. And as always, we'll see you next week.
Goodbye.
Thank you.